Welcome, Tonya Kappes, to the Magic of Cozy's podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I was super excited to get your email. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Yes, I'll totally be on the podcast because I've listened to it and it's so entertaining and I love it. And I'm just so thrilled to be here. I really am, especially during spooky season.
Yes. All right, let's get into it. So, can you tell me about your journey into writing magical cozy mysteries?
Okay. So when I first started writing, period, it was almost 18 years ago. And I thought I was writing cozy mysteries. And a friend of mine, who is also a cozy mystery author, her name is Melissa Bourbon Winnie Archer, and she writes some paranormals. And she was reading my stuff, and she's like, I don't think you write romance. Because I'm like, oh, I totally write romance. And she's like, no, I don't think you write romance. I think that you write cozy mystery because they're not holding hands and they barely give each other the side eye and there's a murder. And I'm like, oh. And so I said, maybe. And she at the time was writing her Lola series, and then she was kind of dabbling into paranormal. I said, "Oh my gosh, let's talk about paranormal." And so I started thinking, what if they had a little magical community in Kentucky and all the fun things and the so it really so I took that one mystery and I added the paranormal to it, which made this storyline so much richer, adding in all those elements and making all the things up. And so it lit me on fire. I'm like, this is so much fun. Like I would just like make the potions up and the talking cat and all the things that um fit that are cozy in a small town. And I thought this is one of the most fun things I've ever written. And I ran with it. And it just having those elements and being able to make whatever up that didn't make sense. I'm not a witch, I'm not wicked, but I was just making it all up and I'm like, this is amazing. And so it just, to me, just set it off to just be such an enrichment to the stories, and I just fell in love with the genre.
That's amazing. It's great. And for our listeners, Tonya writes several different cozy mystery series, so
Mm-hmm.
definitely check them out. Her camper
Thank
series, I
you.
think, is probably one of your most popular. Um,
It is that, and then my Ghostly Southern Mystery series, which is also I recently just got my rights back from those from HarperCollins. So I am going to start writing in that series again. So I'm currently writing in three paranormal series, and
nice.
then three non-paranormal series. So the Camper series is definitely the most popular, and it's the one that also has the television TV show to Hallmark. That's
I am
been
very excited.
yeah, very excited about it. Yeah, me too. They're great.
So, when you were starting to write these paranormal cozies, what inspired you to blend the elements of like specifically witchy themes
Okay.
with the storyline?
Okay. So I specifically love all of those kind of supernatural things. So growing up, I would watch I Dream of Jeannie or I'd watch Bewitched. I grew up in the 70s and they were so fun to watch as a child. And so when they ended up, when I was deciding about, the witchy part of it, I just sat down and started watching all those old shows again. And it just, inspired me even more, but to bring it forward to, a um, a more modern day kind of witch and a witch theme. You know, um, and then you had to really use your imagination to bring that to life. And then I felt like it fit so well I feel like I do a really good job of character development in
Hmm.
my stories. And so it fit really well with that trope in the cozy mystery genre of the small town, all the dark secrets that always come to life. And since I write Southern, I mean, there's nothing better than having a witch in a southern town that's got a Baptist church on every corner, and the people gossiping and talking, and I just ended up loving that aspect of being able to write in that cozy mystery genre. because I mean, Paranormal Cozies back in 2014, 2013, I think is when I first published my first witch cozy. It wasn't as popular as it is now. And so, people ended up devouring it because they're like, oh, this is set in a cozy town and it's all these same characters, except it just has a cute, witch theme to it. And so, it hit the USA Today bestsellers list immediately. We were so shocked because, we're like, oh, because I'd self-published it. And I think just those elements at that time just struck the right moment, and it just blends in so well. And the witches, they can do anything. They don't have to be, just a witch that can twick her nose like Bewitched. So what I had done was I had everybody in the town some sort of witch, but they own a shop, and their shop is kind of what I called it a spiritual gift is. So, for instance, my girl June, she has intuition, that's really really good, and she can do potions. So, if you came into the shop and you were like, "Oh, I've been having heartburn," because she has like a homeopathic shop, right? And so instead, and at the time I mean, I've always had it, a homeopathic doctor. So I was like, they already said, Tonya, you're a voodoo doctor. I'm like, yes, I do. And she does good by me. But anyways, and so, I already knew all those kind of supplements and things like that. It's what I knew. And so, June, say if you come in, but really she's like, oh, you have, you're heartbroken. That's what she would feel in her body. And she could say, oh, this, will be great antacid for your heartburn. Let me just go put some in this bottle. And she would give you a little potion, and your heartburn would go away because really your heartbreak was going away. So she could help heal people that way. It just dead bodies showed up. And then like next door, the palm reader witch, she actually owns a nail salon. So she would be like reading your palm. She's like, oh, like while she's doing their nails, like, oh, you should play the lottery and play these numbers. They're like, what? And so I made it a magical town within Kentucky. So people really didn't know it was magical or witchy. And they just knew that every time they went there, they felt good, they enjoyed it. And so, specifically, the witches have been just, you can do so many different things with witches. And I try to bring in like real things, like, the allomancy, like that, where they can read from the doe, or reading, those kind of things. And I do believe in a lot of the spiritual world. Even though I'm a Christian, I believe in God. I do believe in some of the spiritual things. And I've had a ghost in true life, and I was on the Ghost Hunters podcast, so with my ghost. So, I do believe in that kind of the supernatural kind of world.
That's amazing.
So it's weird.
Do you still have your ghosts? Sure.
No, I don't. So yeah, no, I mean, I know you don't have time for all that, but long story short is I bought a house that was 100, and I can't remember now, like 130 years old. And I was the actual third owner of the house, which was unusual. And things started up missing. I ended up getting married, and things would go missing in the house, like a big camera. Like all we had were Blackberries at the time. We didn't have like good cell phones. And I had a big, camera that I would take around and take pictures with, and like a Canon camera. Like you just don't misplace a Canon camera. And so I would go and get a new camera, and it would show up in my dishes and my cabinet. And then the same thing happened with the iron. And like my sister would not make my friends quit coming to stay with me because all the water in the house would turn on at like 3:33 in the morning. And I'm talking like from the spigots outside to the basement, creepy tub, all over. And so I did a little research, and because the guy, when he had gotten taken out of the house while I was there, was an older gentleman. He kept saying, "She's still here. She's still here." And so I started calling her Mrs. Myers, because their last name was Myers, of course, like Michael Myers, but it was Mrs. Myers. And so I had a baby, and like we would hear strange noises. Or at the time, I had a Schnauzer dog and a husky, and the husky would just lay under my son's bed, like watching, and he would stay in there. And So we got new windows put in the house, and there was an M and an M scratched in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? They gave me some shoddy windows. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was in my son's room. And I said, Mrs. Myers. So then I went across the street to my older lady, because this is a really old neighborhood, and it's in the historic society here in Kentucky, so you can't really do anything to them. But we had gotten permission to turn a screened-in porch into an office, because my husband needed an office at the house, and so we had turned it into office and walled it up. And so I went over to my little Miss Ruthie, and so who I gave she's obviously deceased now, but she was Ruthie, the first ghost in my Ghostly Southern Mystery series. But I went over because I was like, I don't know about Miss Ruthie, but she would come over, toddle over with her bourbon and her one ice cube, and she'd say, "You want to watch Murder She Wrote?" So every Sunday I would watch Murder She Wrote with Ruthie, and so I was like, I don't know what she's telling me is true. It's a little bit of liquid courage, alcohol, but she would say, "Oh no, his daughter Martha." She was she actually was I don't really know what was wrong with her, but I know she was nonverbal and she was in a wheelchair. And so they would sit her out back in this screened-in porch because it overlooked a foresty area, and she loved the birds.
Mm.
And she passed in the house, and she said that he always said that Martha was still there. And I'm like, you are kidding me. And I said, oh Lord, I have got to get this house blessed. I went Catholic, but a friend of mine was a Catholic priest. I called him. I'm like, Brian, you have got to bring over all that stuff you do, and you've got to voodoo my house. And so 3 times he made the appointment and got sick and couldn't come. And so I'm like, oh, Martha. So I just started calling her Martha. And so a lot of my friends they were getting married, and of course, they were drinking too much. One of them fell down my steps. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And she's like, Martha pushed me. I'm like, stop it. And so, but we just kept calling her Martha. If something happened, I'm like, not today. And it just got, and so I lived there for 3 years, and I finally wanted to sell the house. We needed to be and move into a bigger house, because this was just a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. We were having more kids. And so I couldn't sell my house, and those houses go like hotcakes in that area. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I cannot sell this house. And so I called a psychic, and I said, I need you to come to my house, and I need you to tell me how to get rid of Martha. And so she came in, and she's like, oh, she loves y'all. So she's scaring off any would-be buyers, because, I mean, the buyers were like, oh, yeah, we loved it. And then something would fall over. I mean, I got so obsessed to deal with this house thing that I was taking my son's his little what is it, the little microphone thing you can listen through. I don't know what they call them now, but at the time you couldn't look at it. You used to be able to look at, like, now you can look at your kids sleeping, but it was just like the little monitor. And I would go over to my other neighbor Lottie's, and I would sit on her back porch and listen in to what people were saying about my house, because I'm like, what is wrong with my house? Why is it not selling? It was so unusual. And so that's why I called that psychic, because I'm like, it's Martha, because everybody like, oh my gosh. And they would put bids in, and things would fall through, and it was weird. And so she came in, and she said, oh, yeah, Martha, she's a young girl, and she loves your dogs. Cause my dogs would do this. And so because they would watch her, and she said, oh, and she loves your baby boy. And she said, she's not going to let you leave. And I said, I am leaving, because we had already already bought a house, because we thought, oh, we're not going to have any trouble selling it. And they're just down the road, literally like 5 houses down. It was just a bigger house. And so she said, well, you can either take her with you and tell her you're going to take her with you, or you have to find her gravesite. Don't you know, I did the research. I found the gravesite. And so I've got my kid in a pumpkin seat, and Lottie, the neighbor, is over like pulling weeds. And I said, come on, Martha, we're going for it. And I had a little Toyota Camry, and I put my boy in his pumpkin seat in the back, and I opened up the passenger door, and Lottie's like, she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking Martha home. And she's like, oh, you're not right. I said, yes, I am. I'm telling you, Martha is here, Lottie. So I drove her to the cemetery. and it's Highland Cemetery. And I drove her over there and I said, Martha, we're moving and it's time for you to stay here. We loved having you. And literally that was that morning. It was like around lunchtime. And no joke, around 3:30, which was always when she drove us crazy. I got a call from the realtor and our house had sold that day.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. Yeah. But I mean, like my parents, my sister, my friends, no one wanted to stay at our house. So that's the long, that's the long, that's not even, yeah, I always say I can make a long story longer instead of shorter. But I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that she did. That was just the tip of it. So after
Yeah,
3 years of
stuff
worth
up.
of it, and it didn't scare me, it didn't scare me at all. So yeah,
That's amazing.
it's
See, you can't make this
crazy.
stuff up. It's got to be real. It's like,
It was totally real. Oh, it was crazy. Yeah.
well, going back to cozy mysteries and world building,
Yes.
how do you approach world building in your series, and especially in the sort of the magical realms that you create, and make it still believable?
So I think that for me, everybody that is a side character, even the town, has to have some sort of magical tied to them that's going to be, except for maybe one. It depends on what the world is. So, say it's a whole magical world, then all of them have some kind of different magical power that is going to help the sleuth solve the murder. I need them because she can't just solve it on her own. I think I always feel like that's a whole world. And what I also do to make it believable is give them things of the everyday world, right?
Hmm.
In the town. So it's not magic all the time. And also, I give them rules of the town. So, you can't just willy nilly throw up magic and do it. It doesn't work that way. And they don't have the powers to do that. So maybe they get a little intuition, but then they can't be the mind reader. But maybe they get a little bit of the mind reader of the ghost that's haunting because they were murdered. But the ghost is like, oh, it's so vague, so it has to be something that is a little bit believable because otherwise you'd be like, oh, well, why didn't the ghost tell her, who killed them,
Right.
or this, that, and the other. But to make it really believable is where I build out the town, the small communities, having the same shops, owning animals, having kids, having love problems, having friendships, going out, not just about the thing. So it has to really be of the world that we live in, except they just have a little bit of magic as the characters. Now, the towns that I write about where they live in a a non spiritual, like spiritualist town or ghost town, it's a mortal town. I always love to just have that complete normal world, but then the sleuth has to play up the crazy because she's like, I see a ghost. I know I can't talk to you right now. I'm not talking to her right now, like that thing, like where that she has to, really go undercover. A lot of times I put her in a cemetery. So it looks like she's talking to, oh, I miss you so much. Okay, tell me, what did you say? All those things. And so, and then, the people of the town, like, oh, there she goes again. That funeral trauma, she's got the funeral trauma. She's been working at the funeral home too long because this particular one's an undertaker. And so, but so you always try to make it to where, that feels natural. It just has the funny of the ghost or, whatever. And then in my Kenny Lowry series, she's a sheriff with the ghost deputy. So
Hmm.
we try to again, just make it of the world that we all live in, that we all have, in these small towns. And then like, oh my gosh, how cool would it be to have a ghost deputy, or something like that, and then play that part up. So it just depends on the town and how you make it fit that cozy sleuth, really, and her job.
Great.
So,
What advice would you give to aspiring authors who are interested in writing paranormal cozy mysteries?
so a lot of times I think they just like want to go to all the mystical conventions or they want to watch, all whatever it is, learn how to read tarot cards or learn how to, I think it's fun, to have those elements in there, but you don't have to learn all that to write it. You just put those elements in there, right? And so like my crystal ball, like it's a floating face. Like crystal balls don't have floating, but mine does have floating faces. And so what I would say is that don't pigeonhole yourself to think you have to stay within the limits of, what you have read or what you're seeing, because your imagination and your voice is different than everybody's. I mean, a million people can try to write Southern paranormals like myself, but one of my dearest friends is Amy Boyles. We hang out all the time. We go away together. We hang out all the time. I've talked to her on the phone all the time, and her voice is very different. Her writing voice is very different than my writing voice. Her writing voice is amazing, and I love it. And so, there's not too many paranormal cozies out there because your voice is unique to you, and it will never be like anyone else's. And your imagination. So my advice would be to let your imagination go where you want it to go. If you want it to be a talking antelope, let it be that. Because you can, once you are into your writing and you love it, that also spills out on the page to your readers. Like your readers will know if you're struggling to write something because you're trying to mimic other authors or you're trying to make it the most perfect thing. So my suggestion is to start writing and come up with whatever paranormal you want to do. If you want to write the typical, paranormal and the typical witch that flies on the broom, that's great if that's what you want to do. But if you want to have a witch like I had that she had a car, in Knight Rider, that was how that series came about. I'm like, what else? She had a talking car, and it came up like Kit, in Knight Rider, because that's a paranormal show. I don't know if you ever remember the show Knight Rider.
I
Probably
do.
too young, but and that's yeah. Yeah, and so I've got a flying car on the front of it, and people are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a flying car that talks to her." So, and the series did really well. I only just wrote 3 books in it because I moved on, but and it still does well. But I just, it it what spoke to me at the time, and it was successful, and readers loved it, and it opened their eyes to even more and more, cozies that had paranormal and it's just not really pigeonholed like some of the contemporary cozies. So I would say use your imagination, and nothing is wrong in cozies because every single potion that I put in there made up. I couldn't even I make up letters. I just put in letters, or I'll put in somebody's name backwards, or one of my kids' names, I'll spell it backwards, the whole thing, like the whole first, second, and last name, middle, last. I will look at something and say car, be RAC, and just completely mess things up. And it doesn't matter because it's magical.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's some great advice. And Amy was actually my first interview
She's
for last
awesome. I
season.
love
Yeah, she was
her.
awesome.
She's so great.
All right, switching gears just a little bit. What is your definition of magic?
Magic. My definition of magic is, and it's not even pertaining to books, but it's just, it's the flutter of something in your gut that makes you feel good.
Hmm,
It's magical.
I like that.
It can be a sunset. It could be reading a book. It could be, looking at my cat, one of my kids, my soon-to-be daughter-in-law. It can be just any of those things. I just look around and say it's magical. Like it is like beautiful, just magical. Hmm.
If you could have a magical power or ability, what would it be and why?
I would definitely have the ability to, let's see, oh, there's a couple, but what would I pick the most? Uh, Probably to teleport.
Hmm, it's a popular one.
Teleport. Oh, really? Because I live about 2 hours north of my mama. My daddy has deceased. And so I would love to just be able to say, I'm on my way, put down the phone, or just show up, the nod. I would love to be able to do that and just visit with friends that I don't live around, and family, and just be able to visit. That's why I'm a visitor. I would be the person. We don't knock on doors around here. We just show up. I pull out the Entenmann's coffee cake and fire up the coffee or the tea, and so I would just pop in. I would love that.
So, speaking of coffee or tea, what is your favorite way to get cozy with a book?
Oh, definitely a coffee. I love coffee. I love iced coffee. Right now I'm into iced coffee because it's so hot. But in the wintertime, I like steamy. I mean, I like Amy Boyle's got me into percolated coffee. It is so hot, it's gonna burn yourself. It burns your tongue every time. And so I love a good hot cup of coffee, and then of course my Snuggie. The Snuggies with the armholes.
I have one
I've
too.
Yeah. I mean, it is so threadbare. And my mom always says, "Your kids need to get you a new Snuggie, or I'm going to get you a new Snuggie." I'm like, "No, this one's broken in. It's probably like 20 years old, and I love it." Yeah, I take it everywhere.
My best friends gave me one for Christmas once
Oh,
as a
the
joke,
best.
but then I
Yeah,
was like, oh, but I
jokes
actually
on
use
them.
this. Joke's on them. I don't use it as much here in Arizona, but I do use it
Oh
when
yeah.
it's cooler.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I just had mine on earlier today, and one of my kids came for supper, and he's like, "Really, really?" Because it's like 91 degrees. I'm like, "Shush, it's cold in here.
Yeah, the
Outside
AC
it's
is
hot."
very cold. So, what are you reading now? Any book recommendations for our listeners, cozy or not?
Okay, so right now I am reading The Women of, or The Daughter of Troublesome Creek. And so that is a Kentucky book. It is not paranormal. It is about the pack horse librarians here in Kentucky. And so recently, pack horse librarian was in the 1930s in Appalachia here in Kentucky because there was no way to get books to people. And so they would get on horseback and they would travel. They had a route that they would travel, and it was very treacherous. It was very dangerous. They were ambushed a lot,
Wow.
abused a lot. And so this is just recently they have started now going up through Appalachia here, and then marking where they stopped. So now there's going to be a pack horse library trail. But this is the second book in this lady series that is a Kentucky author. And if it does not become a movie, I'm going to be shocked. I mean, the books are so good. And people are like, "Is this real?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, pack horse librarians were completely real." And one of the most famous pack horse librarian was one of the blue people. I don't know if you know Kentucky. You had the tinted blue people, and
Oh,
they didn't know why. And they would thought, oh, they were possessed, they were demonized. But actually, and we always thought, oh, is it the lime? Because we have a lot of limestone it's all we're known for our past horses. The Derby is because of the rich limestone and the Kentucky blue grass. Like it gives a blue tint to our grass.
yeah.
But actually, it was a DNA gene that they found out years ago. But people were scared of them. Google it. You'll be like, "What?" It's a rabbit hole. You're going to go way
I'll
down it and
Google
think
it.
they have been possessed by something. So one of the most famous ones, she was uh, a blue, and she was abused in the books, and people were scared of her, and so that's what I'm reading now. It's so uplifting, right? I did just read though. I have a book club in my Patreon group, and so we read a book every month. And we did just read a regular contemporary cozy called The Dog Ladies, and it was a really cute cozy. So I did just read that as a cozy, and then of course I am excited about my friend Amy Boyle's book coming out because it's so good.
Do you have any new projects that you would like to share or promote?
Right now, I don't even have it with me. So the second book in my Southern Magical Bakery series is coming out, or it just came out in July. I am working on that third book. And it is the second book in the spinoff of the Magical Cure series. So I stopped at book 14 in the Magical Cure series because I felt like, after 14 books, the sleuth had grown up. She'd gotten married. She had a daughter. And so I thought, oh, she's already done her witchy powers. And I've kind of exhausted all the characters. But she didn't get her witchy powers until she was around 18 years old, as she got older. And so I thought, oh, what if she had a daughter? The daughter is also what we call a late bloomer. And so the rule, like I was talking about rules earlier and how I made it different through each town, was that you can't live in their town unless you had a spiritual gift. And so their daughter became of age, which is 18. And they're like, well, she can't stay here. She doesn't have a gift. And so, but she was a gifted baker because her aunt in the town, which isn't her real aunt, but she called everybody aunt and uncle. Her godmother is a witch, and she taught her how to bake. And so her parents move her off to this place called Celestial Falls, which is a mortal and a spiritual witchy community. Except the witchy stuff is kind of underlined more so. And so it's undertoned. And so she moved to this cute little town called Celestial Falls and opened up a cute little bakery. And lo and behold, she has a cat that her parents gave her, and of course it's a fairy god cat, which she doesn't understand. But then, of course, after she learns that she has some powers, and her cat is a southern and sassy. So you think of a southern mama in a cat form. And so I'm writing the second book in that and just really enjoying that a lot.
Yeah. And for those
Oh, I'm
watching,
sorry, the third book.
that is the
Yes,
Southern.
it
Picking
is.
up.
That
Yeah, I
is
can't wait.
it.
They're going to come out in paperback too, right? Because I think
They are,
the is
yes.
not yet available in paperback.
Right. It'll come out in paperback. It comes out usually about a week before the ebook in paperback.
Oh, okay.
So if it's scheduled, the ebook is scheduled to come out a pre-order. It's scheduled to come out on the 20th. It'll be out in paperback by the 16th.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I love the covers, so I was like, I need to
Aren't they
have the
beautiful?
paperbacks.
Yes. She did a great job. I love them. And I love writing in that series because she's also young. Also, one of the kids from the past series is also moved over into that series. And instead of losing the characters from the crossover, of course, there's a murder in everyone. Spoiler alert. Someone from the old series has to come over and help her solve it.
Oh,
And the first one obviously was kind of her mom and her godmother. And then in the second one is the Karima sisters, the two old ladies that always people say they remind them of Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Disney, that owned the funeral home back home. And so, because there's a ghost. And so, and it's just been a lot of fun bringing those characters back in. And then having new readers like yourself go, oh, I think you've read the Magical Cure series. Oh, they were in the Magical Cure series, and they go back and start reading those. I'm like, oh my gosh,
I didn't
And
read
so,
all of this. I read a
yeah,
couple, like the first
yeah.
handful, I guess.
Oh, it's
Um,
fine.
but as
Yes,
soon as I started reading this, I go, wait, is this a
I
spinoff?
know
And I'm like,
these.
this is a spinoff.
Yeah, I know these people. Yeah, this feels like going home to my people. And so, and they're so fun and they're fast reads, and I really enjoy. I really enjoyed writing the second one. I'm super excited for. Well, it's out when this airs, so yeah, you know what I mean.
That's great. So, how can our listeners find you?
Oh, they can just Google me anywhere. I'm on the TikTok. I'm on the Instagrams. I'm on the Facebooks. I'm everywhere possible. I have a website, but and I have a Patreon, of course, but, and that's a very tight community of a few thousand people, but, we're very close in there. And we do Zoom calls 3 times a month. We have book club, and that's where I'm at, like in person. But also, I have a really fun newsletter, I'm told. So I hope, because you get an article from the cat who I seriously think is trying to take over my world, Rowena. And then I tell family stories and things like that. And So in my newsletter, I always have something on sale. So if a book goes on sale, it's once a year because I have a quite extensive backlist to do that. So I try to make 4 books on sale every week. So you can grab good books for cheap, or you can read them all in Kindle Unlimited. And cheap, I mean by like 99 cents an ebook. And then the print book goes on sale as well, but if you read ebooks. So yeah.
I read it all. I have ebook. I have the TBR lists are out of this
Oh,
world.
I
And
know.
they're worse now with this podcast because now I'm
Yes.
discovering all these other authors. And I'm like, okay, something's got to give.
I know. It's a job hazard, right? We love it. Without you guys, I mean, when I first started, there was no Facebook, and I think we had like MySpace. Was that a thing back in the day? Yeah, I think that's what we had. And I was like, I am not getting on that. I was a mother of 4 kids, and I'm like, forget it. But then quickly Facebook came along, and then all the other stuff came along, and I have just enjoyed it. So it just opened up so many doors to actually get to meet readers and to talk to them, and show them we're just like you. It's just a job. We're our imagination, and we have been gifted to be able to do the job. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun as a reader to connect with authors.
And have you ever thought about writing a book?
Do you know my mother says the same thing?
Really?
My day job, I am a grant writer. I am a writer in a different
Yeah.
form.
Yeah, that's hard.
And my mother is actually a published author
Oh,
as well. In her, like, that was like her third career.
yeah. Well, this is my third career.
So she's
Like
always
my
like,
4th act is going to be singing, I think.
yeah, nice. So she's always like, well, when are you going to write your cozy? And I'm like, not right now.
Yeah.
I
I
know, I
didn't
thought of
start
it, but I don't know
writing.
that I have an idea yet. But
Yeah. I didn't start reading until I was 33. And then I started writing around 35. And then I'm 54 now, so I've never looked back. And so it's my 3rd act. I was a teacher, and then I was a child therapist. And then I do this now. So you should do it. Put your toe in the water. Just
yeah.
write that first sentence. You'll be hooked. And
Well,
I would read it.
okay. Well, when I write it, I'm going to send it to you.
Do it. I will.
Well, this has been such a pleasure to have you, Tonya, on the
Oh,
podcast. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
oh, absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.